Let's fill out a 2024 presidential election map based on the latest betting market odds via Polymarket. As of recording this video, users on this platform have bet more than $100 million on the outcome of the 2024 presidential race. Now, a whole lot of research has compared markets like these to polls, trying to assess which is more accurate in forecasting election results. Over the last few election cycles, betting markets on sites like Polymarket, and perhaps more notably Predictit, have consistently been more accurate than most pollsters and forecasters out there. This can largely be attributed to the fact that polls themselves capture public opinion at a very specific moment in time, whereas betting markets average out the opinions of those paying very close attention to all of the different factors that may influence the outcome on election day. So for example, the polls that we see contributing to polling average sites like these are asking voters their opinion on a presidential election that's going to be held 6 months from now, whereas markets like these, Presidential Election Winner 2024, invites people to place their own money on the line for which candidate will win on November 5th. That is a completely different dynamic that, at least generally speaking, encourages political junkies or betting enthusiasts to make well-informed predictions for these election outcomes. And when you put together thousands of those predictions together, you get a pretty realistic prediction for the likelihood of election outcomes. And that's what you see here. As things currently stand, Donald Trump and Joe Biden are both trading at 45 cents each, which roughly translates to 45% odds of winning the election for each candidate. The remaining 10% is divided up between Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and other more obscure candidates. Obviously, this means that the 2024 election is a toss-up in the eyes of the prediction markets, which aligns with what we have been seeing in polls as of late. In today's video, though, we will be taking a look at the latest odds in every state that you see on this map here, and translating those odds over to this 2024 Electoral College map to see which candidate is favored in the all-important race to 270 electoral votes. To start us off, let's give Joe Biden and Donald Trump all of the states that they are almost certain to win according to these markets. And by almost certain, I mean states where either candidate has a better than 90% chance of winning. Starting with Donald Trump, he is almost certain to carry the states of Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota, Nebraska's statewide contest, as well as its 1st and 3rd congressional districts, Kansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, Tennessee, and South Carolina, as well as Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Ohio. With the exceptions of Alaska, Iowa, and Ohio, each of these states went to Trump by margins greater than 12 percentage points in 2020, and there is no reason to think at this point that they won't back the former president by a comfortable margin again here in 2024. Trump currently has better than 93% odds in all of these states. He won Alaska by 10 points in 2020, and both Iowa and Ohio by 8 points. But as per Polymarket's odds, he has a 93% chance of winning in Alaska and a 92% chance in both Iowa and Ohio. Now, with all of these states allocated, Trump holds 148 electoral votes. Let's assign the safe blue states now to Joe Biden, though. Those include Washington, Oregon, California, and Hawaii down the Pacific coast, New Mexico, Colorado, and Illinois. And then up here in the Northeast, we have New York, Maine's 1st congressional district, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., or the District of Columbia. That lifts Biden and the Democratic Party all the way up to 196 electoral votes, significantly higher than Trump's safe states total, thanks to the ginormous Democratic strongholds of California and New York. Without them, Biden would only be at 114 electoral votes right now. Nevertheless, Biden has a better than 90% chance in each of these solid blue states after carrying them all by at least 10 points in 2020. His lowest margins in any of these states came in Colorado at 13.5 points and New Mexico by 11%. That leaves 194 electoral votes not yet rated. These are the votes that will almost certainly decide the 2024 election, with both Biden and Trump still below 200 electoral votes at this moment. Remember, 270 is the magic number needed to secure the presidency. That all being said, most of these states have a strong lean toward a specific candidate. They're not as certain to fall in line as the states that we have already colored in the darkest shades of red or blue, but they are highly likely to back one candidate this November, barring some sort of major upset or a monumental landslide in either direction. In other words, while safe or solid states may be defined as one party has a clear edge and the race is not competitive, these likely states are those where one party has an edge but an upset is possible. And specifically for the purposes of this video, where we are filling in this map based on betting odds, I'm going to include all of the states where either candidate has an 80 to 90% chance of winning in this likely category. For Donald Trump, that includes two electoral behemoths down on the southern end of the map, starting in the Lone Star state of Texas with its 40 electoral votes, the second most of any state behind California. Trump is currently given an 88% chance of winning it this November, according to Polymarket. Trump's 5.6-point win in 2020 was the narrowest for a Republican since 1996, and Texas has actually trended towards Democrats by 10 points relative to the nation since 2012. Still though, Trump's 52.1% vote share in 2020 was almost identical to 2016, at least temporarily stifling Democratic hopes of a blue Texas in the near future, as he and the Republican Party at large have made significant gains among Hispanics in Texas, particularly in the Rio Grande Valley, which saw the second strongest pro-Trump shift of any geographical region in the entire US, behind actually the next state on this list, Florida, where the Miami-Dade metro area went from Clinton plus 30 in 2016 to Biden plus 7 in just 4 years. Current odds give Trump an 86% chance of winning here in the Sunshine State, which means that Florida's 30 electoral votes, the third most of any state, join Texas as a likely Republican. Trump won the state by a 3.4-point margin in 2020, the largest margin of victory for any presidential candidate in Florida since 2004, and it was one of just 8 states where Trump actually performed better than he did in 2016. Now, as for Biden's likely states, starting in Minnesota, he has an 83% chance of winning here, according to Polymarket, lower than Trump's odds in both Texas and Florida, but still indicating that the incumbent president is very likely to carry Minnesota's 10 electoral votes this November, after he carried it by 7 points in 2020. That would extend Minnesota's streak of voting for Democratic presidential candidates to 13 straight elections, the active record of any states. Then over in Virginia, Biden is also given very good odds of retaining the Commonwealth. For the Democratic Party, he is at 88% odds right now, the highest of his likely states actually. The Democrat carried Virginia's 13 electoral votes by 10 points in 2020, the largest margin of victory for a Democrat in the Commonwealth since 1944. Finally, let's head to the Northeast, where we have 2 states that are very likely to go to Biden, New Hampshire and the statewide contest in Maine. Biden has an 84% chance of winning New Hampshire as of recording this video, placing it in between Minnesota and Virginia in terms of likelihood. New Hampshire has consistently, though, been the most competitive state in the Northeast throughout the 21st century, but after voting for Clinton by less than 0.5% in 2016, Biden managed to win it by 7 points in 2020. Then up in Maine, these are actually Biden's best odds among his likely states here, not Virginia. 89% in the statewide contest here. Remember, Maine, like Nebraska, splits awarding its electoral votes, awarding 2 to the statewide winner and 1 per each congressional district. Speaking of, I actually forgot to place Maine's 2nd district in the likely Trump category. As we take a look over here at the odds, Republicans have an 86% chance of securing that 1 electoral vote that will be awarded to the candidate receiving the most votes in Maine's 2nd congressional district. At the state level, Maine shifted strongly towards Democrats in 2020, the fourth most of any state actually, going from Clinton +3 to Biden +9. But the 2nd district remained in the Trump camp, going from Trump +10 to Trump +7. So with that said, let's take another look at what all of these new likely ratings mean for the race to 270 electoral votes. Joe Biden maintains his lead, but by a much narrower margin now, with 225 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 219. Just 94 electoral votes remain in 7 states and Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. The 7 states are Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. If this isn't your first time watching a video about the state of the 2024 Electoral College map, then this is also not your first time hearing about how important these states are in this election. They are, in fact, the battlegrounds. And without further ado, let's take a look at the latest odds in each of them, going from least to most competitive. Starting in Nebraska's 2nd district, Joe Biden has a 79% chance of securing the 1 electoral vote here. That's just a cent below receiving a likely Dem rating, but nevertheless it goes down as leaning toward Biden, as all of the other states with margins between 60 to 70% will as well. Biden carried this urban and well-educated Omaha-based district by 6 points in 2020. As we speak, Nebraska's Republican-controlled state legislature is actively seeking to get rid of the state's split electoral vote system, but that is a topic for another video. The next state for us is North Carolina, which will go down as leaning toward Trump. Republicans are trading at 69 cents right here in this market, suggesting that the former president has a 69% chance of winning the Tar Heel state and carrying its 16 electoral votes, as he did in both 2016 and 2020. The Republican Party has won 8 consecutive federal elections in North Carolina, that being president and U.S. Senate, each by less than 5 points. Moving right along, though, 2 states are actually tied at giving Biden 58% odds each. The first is Pennsylvania with its 19 electoral votes, which will tilt towards the Democrat on this map because of those odds. Joe Biden has a 58% chance of winning the Keystone State, according to Polymarket. Pennsylvania is actually the 2nd most bet-on state as of recording this video, with $135,000 at stake in this market right now. The most bet-on market is actually our next state, Nevada, where Biden also has a 58% chance of winning. A whopping $250K is in on this market right now, with most of that money on Democrats to win over Republicans. This is interesting, as polling in Nevada has consistently shown Trump in front. So I guess this is a good example of how prediction markets can differ from polling, as markets like these tend to be more tied to fundamental factors. Democrats have won Nevada in 4 straight elections, and after Clinton won by 2.4% in 2016, Biden won again by that exact same margin in 2020, his 2nd highest margin of victory in any of these 7 key battlegrounds. Comparatively, Biden flipped Pennsylvania into his column by a point after Trump won it in 2016. I will save the deeper analysis on these trends in these states for the end of this video. Let's head to our next state over in the southeast, Georgia, where the 16 electoral votes here in the Peach State will actually tilt towards Trump, which amazingly actually lifts him up into an electoral vote tie with Joe Biden, as both candidates are now projected to receive exactly 251 electoral votes each. Trump is currently trading at 57 cents in Georgia, strong odds, but lower than you might think, as the former president has led in every single poll taken in Georgia since last June, and currently holds a near 5-point advantage, according to the latest polling average from Decision Desk HQ and The Hill. A traditionally conservative and Republican-dominated southern state, Biden flipped Georgia by 0.2% in 2020, thanks to the rapid growth and diversification of Atlanta's suburbs. It was his narrowest margin of victory in any state. Now our next 2 states are both up here in the upper Rust Belt region, Michigan and Wisconsin. Along with Pennsylvania, they make up the key Rust Belt trio that decided the 2016 and 2020 elections. Trump carried them all in 2016, and then Biden flipped them all in 2020. In both cases, had they not managed to win these three states, they would not have secured enough electoral votes to be elected president. Traditionally speaking, this trio is considered ancestrally Democratic due to the strong white working class presence that had previously made up the backbone of the Democratic electorate for most of the late 1900s. In fact, these three states have voted Democratic in 6 straight elections between 1988 to 2016, where Trump's emerging strength among white, non-college educated Americans put them back in play for Republicans. And we have seen Republicans become increasingly competitive here and across the broader Midwest region, in states like Ohio, Indiana, Iowa, and Missouri, which all went from Obama-era swing states to now being solidly Republican. Nevertheless, as of recording this video, the latest odds on Polymarket give Biden a 57% chance of winning in Michigan, with the overwhelming majority of the nearly $60,000 invested in this market placed on Democrats to carry Michigan's 15 electoral votes this November. It'll join Pennsylvania as a tilt Democrat state on this map. It voted for Biden by 2.8% in 2020. It was his best state among the 7 battlegrounds in that election. And so in spite of Trump's surprisingly strong polling numbers here so far this cycle, it does appear that traders think the fundamentals in Michigan favor Biden. And the same can actually be said over in Wisconsin, where Democratic candidates have consistently overperformed in elections since the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade in 2022, and Biden has polled well compared to the other swing states here in 2024, at least relatively speaking. As of recording this video, he has a 52% chance of winning in Wisconsin per Polymarket. Again, this may seem surprising, but ultimately this is just another example of the fundamental factors swaying bettors here, as Wisconsin has consistently voted to the right of Michigan over the last few elections. In fact, it has been decided by less than a point in 4 of the last 6 presidential races, and Wisconsin's demographics are more favorable for Republicans. It's actually a more white, more rural, and less college-educated state than Nebraska, for example. Still though, Wisconsin goes down as tilt Democrats on this betting market-based map, which gives Joe Biden 276 electoral votes now, just enough to secure him re-election before we head to our final state in Arizona. As we speak, Republicans are trading at 50 cents to Democrats' 48 cents. That's about as close as it gets to a toss-up, at least in terms of political prediction markets. But Republicans do hold a slight edge, so going back over to the map, the Grand Canyon state will tilt towards Donald Trump. In contrast to the Rust Belt, these Sun Belt states, specifically Georgia and Arizona, had been reliable Republican states throughout the late 1900s and early 2000s before Biden became the first Democratic presidential candidate to win either state in 2020 since 1996. Arizona and Georgia saw the 3rd and 5th largest shifts towards Democrats relative to the nation between the 2012 and 2020 presidential elections. It seems that traders, though, are not entirely convinced that those trends alone are enough to swing them further towards Biden than their Rust Belt counterparts at this point, as polling has consistently looked better for Trump in these Sun Belt states, Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia, and North Carolina, than in the Rust Belt. That does it though for this betting market-based video. Joe Biden is projected to secure re-election and win a second term in the White House with 276 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 262. It goes without saying that this is an incredibly close electoral vote margin, hinging on just a few cents difference in these battleground markets. This is, though, as of mid-April, what the 2024 presidential election map is projected to look like per the latest betting odds. You can feel free to comment your thoughts and feelings about this map in the comment section below. I appreciate all positive or negative comments. Also, make sure to let me know down there what other 2024 related videos you would like to see in the future. Shout out to my channel members on screen here. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to become a member, go ahead and click the join button below this video to receive exclusive perks. Make sure to subscribe to my channel down below and please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. You can check out more content from my channel here, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. EP out.